Good morning, I'm Ryan of Midnight Solar, and today I want to show you how to program the classic charge controller, the regular classic, not the classic light, to work with the WBjr. We're going to assume the WBjr is already wired up, and if you need help with that, please consult the directions that came with the WBjr, or see the video entitled Wiring of My WBjr to the Classic and Kid charge controller. So the first thing we need to do is go in and turn the auxiliary mode on to the WBjr. So we're going to go to the main menu button, bottom right button, and we're just going to keep pushing that until we come to the charge menu. Then we're going to scroll to the right until we find AUX, aux. We're going to press the enter button, middle button. You'll notice I use the left and the right arrows to scroll. So we're on aux, we press enter. Now we need to go to auxiliary 2. Mine's already programmed for WBjr, but I'm going to still show you exactly how to do this. So the left and right arrows navigate the cursor, if you will, and we're going to go highlight the text underneath aux2. Yours may say something different. And we're going to go to setup. And then we're going to scroll around looking for the WBjr. If you'll notice, it's all the way up right now. So if you keep using the up arrow, you'll come to the WBjr. Once you've found the WBjr, then we're going to press the main menu button to back up. The main menu button always backs us back up to the beginning of the main menu, so it's a back button as well. I'm going to go back here, set for WBjr. You'll notice we can turn it on or off. It doesn't really matter on the Classic, but I like to leave it here just because that way it shows up and I can see what I'm doing. And then we're going to press enter to save that data. So again, to recap, you'll notice the left and right arrows move the cursor. And when I get back to this menu, I want to make sure I use the up and down arrows to make sure it doesn't say on or off. I want it to say WBjr, and I want to press enter. So that sets up the auxiliary to talk to the WBjr. So now what we want to do is make sure it's talking to it. So we're going to go to the status button. This brings us back to the home screen. And we're going to press the status button a few more times until we get to the WBjr. I went around it. Sorry about that. To get to the WBjr status screen. There you'll notice we're on the WBjr status screen, and what you're seeing is it is communicating. You'll notice we're putting 19 to 28 amps, 30 amps into the battery. That's actually the current going into the battery after all the loads are satisfied. You'll notice that the shunt or the WBjr is running 8 degrees C. This is in my heated shop, but I only keep it about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And you'll notice I have 641 amp hours remaining. And I have 85% state of charge. A little hard to see there, but we can also go to the more button and see the lifetime amp hours positive and the lifetime amp hours negative, and the net amp hours since the last time it was full. We also see the actual battery capacity and the remaining amp hours. So we're going to back out of that using the back button, and you'll notice the soft keys, the left and right soft keys, have a label above them. This one is more, where we just was. This one's labeled setup. So we're going to go into the setup, and this is where we tell it how many amp hours our battery bank is. This is going to be given to us by our battery manufacturer. In my case, I'm running 2 strings of Trojan L16 REBs, and they're 375 amp hours per string. So I have a 750 amp hour battery bank. And these numbers that we're going to talk about here, if you cannot find them, your battery manufacturer can supply them for you. So, look on the internet, look at their spec sheet, give your battery manufacturer a call, whatever that case may be. So now that we've set the capacity using the up and down arrows, we're going to scroll to the right using the right arrow to highlight efficiency. And efficiency is kind of a loaded number. It's kind of tough sometimes to get right on the efficiency. Most battery meters use 94%. Some AGM or gel type batteries can be higher than that, especially when they're new. Basically what you're looking for is you're going to want to watch the transition where the controller goes to float. And that's when it resets to 100%. So if you're going to float and you're only seeing 90% state of charge when you go to float, that means your efficiency is not quite right and you're going to want to play with it. Same sense if you see, you're at 100% and it stays at 100% for another 30 minutes before it goes to float, that means the efficiency is probably too high. You're going to need to tweak this number right here a little bit. The idea that you're trying to get is you're trying to get the actual controller to go to float at the same time the efficiency hits 100%, if you will. And in my case on the Trojan batteries, I found that to be 93%. Now we're going to click the More button. Again, the right soft key right here is top button, right up here. And this is going to give us our battery capacity temperature compensation screen, if you will. The first number you're seeing here is 25 degrees C reference. That is the temperature, the neutral position, if you will, on the battery. And this number is the same number that's used for temperature compensation on the voltage, as well as temperature compensation on the capacity, which we'll talk about in a minute. Most batteries are 25 degrees C for their reference or their neutral point. Some manufacturers want that to be 30 or a different number, so we've made it adjustable for you. It's kind of unique to Midnight, but we have made that adjustable for you, so you can adjust that neutral point, if you will, at where no compensation takes place. Once that's set, using the up and down arrows to change it, we're going to use the right arrow to scroll over to the percentage. Now what this is a percentage of change per degree C on the battery capacity. So if you've got a 750 amp hour battery, that's at 25 degrees C. For every degree C below 25 degrees C, that battery loses capacity. And for every degree C above 25 C, the battery gains capacity. So in this case, my batteries, the Trojan batteries, recommend 1% per degree C, which seems to be pretty standard in the industry, but it is adjustable. It does default to 1. And what that basically means is if my batteries are running 10 degrees C right now, which they probably are, that means they're about 15 degrees C below the reference point, below 25 C, or 15% down on capacity because they're cold. Now that's not a permanent loss, but it is a temporary loss in capacity due to temperature. And the same holds true if they get hot. If the batteries are 40 degrees C, then they're going to have 15% greater capacity, but a hot battery also shortens its life drastically, so you don't want to do that intentionally. So once we've got all this stuff set, we would press enter to save that data, and that would conclude programming for the WBjr itself. Now, the one thing you'll notice is on the main screen, the charge stage, if you will, in this case absorb because the batteries are full, will toggle between the charge stage and the actual percentage of state of charge on the Classic. And this information is also available on the local app. Now I want to show you some more programming that we can do to use the WBjr. We can use it for end amps, and I want to show you how to do that. So we're going to go to the main menu again, and we're going to keep pressing the main menu button. Like I say, press as many times as you need to get back to charge, and then we're going to press enter. Now what we're looking for is we're looking for advanced. So we're going to use the arrows, all 4 arrows, to get to advanced. So we're going to go down, and we're going to go to the right, highlight advanced. Now we're going to go into advanced, and you'll notice here we have ending amps. Now ending amps has always been a problem because the Classic can only look at itself. It doesn't know what was happening to the battery. So that was not a true number because it didn't account for loads. Well now, if you'll notice, it says it's abbreviated for Classic right here. And that's, again, that soft key. So now we can select that soft key and change it to watch the shunt or the WBjr. Now our ending amps really will happen at 6 amps into the battery, irregardless of loads. When the Classic sees the battery only taking 6 amps, it will signal everybody to go to float. And once we set that, we'll press enter to save that data. And then we'll press status to go back to the home screen. And that concludes programming the Classic for the WBjr. If you have a Classic Light, please see our video entitled Programming the Classic Light for the WBjr. Thank you.